Hey there, Agile Adventurer. Just a quick question. What if, for the price of a fancy coffee or half a pizza, you could unlock over 700 hours of the best Agile content on the planet? That's audio, video, e-courses, books, presentations, all that you can think of. But you can also join live calls with world-class practitioners and hang out in a flame war-free and AI slop-clean Slack with the sharpest minds in the game. Oh, and yes, you get direct access to me, Vasco, your Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. No, this is not a drill. It's the Scrum Master Toolbox membership. And it's your unfair advantage in the Agile world. So if you want to know more, go check out scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. That's scrummastertoolbox.org/membership. And check out all the goodies we have for you. Do it now. But if you're not doing it now, let's listen to the podcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. And joining us this week from beautiful Stockholm in Sweden is Junaid Shaikh. Hey, Junaid. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Vasco. Thank you very much for having me here.
Absolutely. So let me tell you a little bit about Junaid. He's an energetic Agile coach with a natural flair for Agile and Scrum, shaped by recent experiences at software giants like Ericsson and hardware leaders like ABB. In his work, he champions collaboration, curiosity, and continuous improvement. And beyond coaching, he brings the same passion to cricket, table tennis, carom, and his newest sporting obsession, paddle. Now, Junaid, I can totally see how you can play paddle in Sweden, but how do you play cricket in Sweden?
Well, I am in Sweden since the last 11 years, but originally I'm from India. And when you say India, cricket and India are very much relatable. So I carry that passion from my origin. I used to play a lot of cricket in India, but in Sweden, it's in bits and pieces. It's not as structured and organized as I was in India. Also, with the age and with the time and the business, it has taken a backseat. But in the summers, we still play whenever we get a chance, but not as good as I was before. For sure.
Absolutely. I can imagine the gardens in Stockholm filled with cricket players. Maybe not filled, but at least some cricket players. So, Junaid, tell us a little bit more about you and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and it has been an interesting journey as well, Vasco. So, originally in India, I started with quality assurance into software as a tester. And then very quickly in my career, I was exposed to Agile and Scrum teams. So during that phase, I was having a lot of good ideas about improving the ways of working or how can we structure the work and so on and so forth. And interestingly or coincidentally, I also did a CSM certification, a 2-day course. And from that, I got a lot about what the Scrum Master does and stuff. So when I came back to the teams, I had even better suggestions. So a lot of product owners, with the teams that I was working with, they said, Junaid, why don't you start working as a Scrum Master as well? Or not 100%, maybe for some time. And I was like, yeah, okay, why not? I can try it. So then I tried it and it worked very well. It worked so well that I started liking this new passion. And then there were certain instances where, some other teams, product owners also invited me to facilitate some of their sessions. And, it continuously grew from there. Now, in retrospect, I try to find out what were the pillars. It's basically, I feel that I'm a natural Scrum person. So if you see the 3 pillars of Scrum, transparency, inspection, and adaptation, I think they come sort of natural to me. I need to have a good view of what I'm going to do or what I'm doing, and then continuously inspect where I am and accordingly adapt. It's like this example that I use with my teams of the Google Maps. Whenever I have to take a journey, I always open the Google Maps, which is the transparency mode for me. And based on the traffic situation and red and green, how much time does it take? I inspect and usually adapt to take a new route or something. So I think as a person, Agile and Scrum, they come a bit naturally to me. So that's how I
I really
ventured
like
into the zone.
the maps analogy, because that's what we are trying to do for our teams, right? Like we're trying to map out the options and helping them decide. But sometimes, just like Google Maps, and I do remember the initial GPS systems we used to have back in the early 2000s or late 90s, it doesn't always work setting the map for the team, and we fail, and that's okay because we all learn from it, and failure is not the problem. Not learning would be the problem, but we want to learn from it here. So Junaid, share with us that story of failure that, of course, left you with a very important lesson learned.
Yeah. I think in my journey, in my career, always, if you are, like I said, if I'm a Scrum person, I am also bound to retrospect a lot. So in the retrospectives that I've done, I think I have some very good learnings. So in my initial days of being a Scrum Master, where you have the passion, you have the theory with you, but not the practical experience, you end up countering the effect of being the Scrum Master somehow. So initially, what I used to do is when I used to join a team as a Scrum Master, I used to go like, no, this is not how you should do it. This is so I started proposing solutions right away, and then I mean, at that moment, it felt, isn't it quite obvious that you are not doing it the correct way? And but sooner, very soon I realized that it's an assumption. What you are looking as a third person, maybe it's an assumption that you feel like, oh, this is obvious, this is right. But you need to understand the pulse of the team, pulse of the process, and only then you can still not suggest direct solutions. You can enable and facilitate, solutions. So I very quickly I started creating smaller tiger teams involving the affected people and ensuring that I facilitate the session in a way that they are the owners of their solution. This led to a very high acceptance and really continuous improvements. So one of the first things was, do not propose direct solutions. Stop assuming.
Yeah.
That was
facilitate
a big lesson.
them to propose themselves the solution, right?
Exactly. Also, when you're new in your journey, you are exposed to a lot of tools, fancy tools, and then you want to say, this is nice. Let me go back to my team and have a session. I felt that was also a lesson learned, that I shouldn't do that, because, like I said, Agile, sometimes it, especially depending on the maturity of the teams, it becomes an enabler or sometimes an overhead. So as a Scrum Master, you cannot directly go to your team and say, hey, let's sit for 2 hours and utilize this tool. If it's not needed, you shouldn't propose that tool to the team. So I remember one of the teams, I proposed working agreements, for example. And there was a pushback from the team, like, why do we need working agreements now? We have been working so well since the last 2 years and stuff. So I realized, okay, maybe I saw something fancy there. I should analyze myself better before I bring the tool to the team.
Actually, that's a great point, because, I mean, intuitively, most people would say, yeah, it's great to have working agreements. But what was it like? Because, of course, now you have the benefit of hindsight. So when you were thinking about, hey, I should propose that we create working agreements, what was it that you were trying to achieve that later on, when you did propose it, you figured out maybe this wasn't the right way to achieve it?
Yeah, like I said, it was my lack of experience. So I was exposed to this working agreement. I attended another event of another Scrum team where they were doing the working agreement. I was like, this is nice. Let me bring that to the team. But I did not realize that the team did not need this tool at this moment.
Okay, so your perspective was, this is a tool that would be useful for my team, but you weren't necessarily trying to give them or help them solve a specific problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a great insight, right? Like all tools are useful in some context. I mean, this is why the podcast is called the toolbox, right? Because we have to have many tools in our toolbox, but not all tools are appropriate at that time for those people, right? So sometimes that time with different people would be a good idea to propose working agreements. Sometimes a different time with the same people would be a good idea to propose working agreements. But at that time with those people, maybe that wasn't the right proposal. These days, when you reflect in your role as a Scrum Master, how do you go through that process of thinking, I'm thinking of a solution. Is this the right time and the right people to propose the solution to?
Well, that's a very good question. What I do with my experience now, I always have a good connect with the team members and the product owner. So have those one-to-ones, and I do a sense check. When I have the sessions with them, I do question them, and I make notes for myself. And then I analyze, okay, what's the overall situation? What's happening? What are the needs of the team? And based on that, I still do not go big bang. In a session, I directly go and present that tool. I have my closer allies in my teams. When I present them, like, okay, I'm seeing the situation and I'm proposing this tool. Do you also see that? And then they say, yeah, I agree. This is a problem that we are facing, and this tool might help. So when I have this dialogue with a couple of them, then I'm like, okay, I'm not assuming. My analysis is in the right direction. Then I go ahead and propose it to the full team.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to, I think, balance, because we all have, and like you said, we have passion. We want to help, but sometimes by doing something to help, we're actually shooting ourselves in the foot and sometimes making other people's lives harder. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Junaid.
Thank you, Asko.
All right, I hope you liked this episode. But before you hit next episode, here's the deal. This podcast is powered by people like you, the members who wanted more than just inspiration. They wanted real tools and real connection to people who are practicing Agile every day. We're talking access to over 700 hours of Agile Gold, CTO level strategy talks, summit keynotes, live workshops, e-courses, deep dive interviews, books, and if you're into No Estimates, we got the pioneers of No Estimates in those deep dive interviews as well. Agile business intelligence, creating product visions, coaching your product owner courses, you name it. You'll get invites to monthly live Q&As with Agile pioneers and practitioners, plus a private Slack community, which is free of all of that AI slop you see everywhere, and of course, without the flame wars. It's a community of practitioners that want to learn and thrive together. It's the best place to connect with community and learn together. So if this podcast has helped you before, imagine what you will get from this podcast membership. So head on over to scrummastertoolbox.org/membership and join the community that's shaping the future of Agile. And we have so much for you. So check out all the details at scrummastertoolbox.org/membership, because listening is great, it's important, but doing it together, that's next level. I'll see you in the community Slack. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.